All right, welcome everyone to the Unbox Some Funcast, number 7 or 8.
Whatever. Yeah. We'll eventually count them and put numbers on.
We will. Whether or not this one's going to go to the actual podcast, we're experimenting with some things right now.
Yep.
So this is primarily for the YouTube audience. But Chandra, there's some changes behind you.
There are, yeah. So our guy came in, and same guy that built our demo bar for us, including all the nice resin work and the lighting and all that, came back and made a back bar for us. So the TV is getting better use now. We've got these great glass boards here that we can put some of our like featured games at the demo bar on. We're really trying to make it feel cleaner, more inviting. We want the demo bar to be a place that customers immediately gravitate toward. And we're hanging out at it a lot more too. I was telling Kylie the other day, it kind of feels like when we were in the much smaller space and spent a lot more time playing games together and getting customers to come play games with us too. It's sort of bringing that vibe back to our much bigger, airier space, which is great.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal to sort of see this. I mean, the idea of the demo bar has been, probably came up a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Took a while to get the bar made and installed.
Yeah.
But that didn't immediately turn it into like the vision that we had of people coming in, saddling up to the bar, because the vision was it's like a bar that you'd go and get drinks at. You come in, you sit down, hey, bartender, game guru, what games you got? Let's play some games with people. And that wasn't really happening. In hindsight, I think part of it is the idea was clear in our mind.
Yeah.
This is what it's for, but customers didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
And we were using it as a demo space. So we often had 3+ games out there.
It had kind of accidentally become yet another display area. Because I think we weren't thinking of, well, what actually invites you to a bar is space at the bar.
Yeah. If you go into a restaurant, into a bar, and there's just drinks already all over the bar, you're not going to sit down.
Right. Even if the stools are all empty, if you see these half-drunk drinks all over it, oh, well, that's someone's seat.
Right. Yeah. So once we had, we got the bar back in, and it just looks so amazing.
Yep.
And, we cleared off everything as part of that process, and then putting up text that says, like, hey, this is the demo bar. So people didn't know what to do with it.
Yep.
Right? Even though we know what to do with a drinks bar, demo bar is a new thing.
Yeah.
This is something we've come up with. So people see it now. Demo bar. What's that? Mm-hmm. Have a seat.
Well, and it helps too that we, whenever there's not a bunch of other stuff going on, when we have some space in the day, one of us is usually hanging out at the demo bar. And, even if it's like me or Kristen or Andrew or Mike or whoever it is hanging out at the demo bar, even if you're sitting there reading a book because it's a slow moment of the day, having someone there already invites people to walk over. Yeah. And then, hey, throw the bookmark in, toss the book aside, let's play a game. Or, hey, I've been meaning to learn this game. You want to learn it with me or whatever. Yeah,
you've been learning a lot of games lately, too.
I have been, yeah. I went for a few years there not learning and playing a heck of a lot of board games and card games just for lack of time, really, to do it. But being able to sit myself behind the demo bar, take a look underneath at all the open copies of games we have here, and we've got more upstairs and elsewhere too, but I can just glance and see like, oh, I've been meaning to learn that one, or I've been hearing people talk about that one. I'm going to open it up, go through the rules. If someone else has some time, hey, come on over. Let's give this a quick play.
Right. And that someone else could be another person on staff, but also customers.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. Sometimes multiple customers or some combination thereof.
Yeah. And right behind you, it says new games on tap. That was kind of the idea. It's like just like you'd have a draft list. We've got a list of games with small descriptions that we're happy to show people.
Usually things there are things that we could teach you in just a couple minutes too, like a 2-3 minute teach or at least a quick elevator pitch to give you the idea.
Yeah. And it's like I've had fun Like I can hear it when I'm in my office. I hear when there's people at the demo bar playing the game.
Yep.
Or I'm coming down from upstairs and I can just see, oh yeah, there's 3, 4, 5 people sitting at the demo bar. You know, Mike or Chandra or Dan or whoever is back there, you know, showing them games and like creating that excitement.
Yeah,
right? And,
absolutely.
You know, from a retail perspective, that's a big part of what we do. I'd say it's 100% what we do. We want people excited about games because then they buy games. But we've seen the return on investment.
Yeah. And there's the shoulder surfing phenomenon, you know, when a game has already been going on and someone walks over and just watches and says, hey, what are you guys playing?
Yeah.
You know, and starts picking up the basic idea of it just from watching and listening to us and asking some questions. And, you know, whatever gets people excited about the games is a good thing. And maybe once we wrap up this play, that person can jump in.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time they just say, oh, that's cool. I'm going to grab a copy, take it home, play it with my kids, play it with my friends, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen, I had Mike tell me the other day, I remember I had seen, he had a group of 4 or 5 people at the bar. And to be honest, I mean, Mike's the showman, but he had them eating out of his hand and he showed them 4 or 5 different games, like Ito and Slides, just some quick games. So probably spent a good 45 minutes with this group playing 4 or 5 different games. And he told me later, every single one of those games was bought by someone in the group, and several of the games were bought by multiple people in the group.
Right.
So it's
and obviously for us as business people, as retailers, that's a great thing to like get games in hands that way. Yeah. But we would be remiss if we didn't mention, you can't see it on camera here, but if you pop into the store, we'll be happy to show it to you. Right sort of above and next to the bar, we have a big digital counter also, and there's a button attached to it. Every time we get to play a game with someone, smash that button, the number goes up. That is the games we have facilitated the playing of. So sales obviously is necessary for us as a business, but what gets us fired up is just games being played. The fact that there's this community aspect to it. There are these people who are taking these games home because they're excited to play them. They're excited to introduce the people in their lives to them. And that's what is most exciting for us to keep track of. That's such a huge part of the spirit behind the bar. Yeah.
And in fact, I don't remember if we've talked about this in a previous podcast, but you know, when we put together our mission, vision, and values, and we had 1-year goals, 3-year goals, 10-year goals. And we had to decide, like, what is it that we want to track that's meaningful for us? You know, it's really easy to track money. Oh, we want to sell X amount of dollars in games over the next 10 years. But that also just feels, I mean, it's necessary. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we're capitalists. We try to be ethical capitalists, but that's what we're here to do. But it also didn't feel like any business can do that. The bagel shop, the shoe shop, they're all trying to sell.
It feels a little hollow when it's your primary metric.
So what we came up with is games played. And that's, you know, as Chandra said, when we facilitate the sale of a game, we consider that a game played. Ideally, every game we sell gets played more than once. But we also know gamers, sometimes they sell games and don't get it played. But as an average, probably a very low ball average, if we sell you a game, we sell you an expansion, it's going to get played. So that counts as one play. And then, of course, we have the stuff we do here. When we eventually open up gaming space upstairs, knock on wood, we'll be able to track that. But now with the demo bar and this counter, we literally track those games played. And
also off-site event games played. Andrew, our events coordinator, tracks that as well. And that goes into the tally because same deal. Even if it's a non-profit event where we're not charging them a thing, it's still games played. It's still people being excited about the games.
So based on the numbers in, I guess it was 2020. What year is it? It's 2025. We did all the traction in 2023.
We did.
So we were probably basing it on 2022's numbers and accounting for growth and this. What we came up with was 2024 10-year goal. So from the January of 2024 to December of 2034, is that what that would be? If my math's right. Our goal is 350,000 games played. And that seems doable based on the trajectory we're at. And that's what that counter is keeping track of.
Mhm.
You know, it'll have a thing. We're thinking about actually printing something up every year's totals as we go along,
Yep.
but also that counter itself just keeps clicking up
Yeah.
to try to hit that target.
It's an internal metric for us. That's sort of our, the level of success we have reached is how many games we've actually gotten people to play.
Yep.
But we want to find ways to get our community excited about it too. And we're not quite sure if you have ideas, let us know. But we're trying to figure out ways that we can tie our community more into that as well, because it means them playing games.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about us. It's about everyone that walks into the store.
Yeah.
Or, heck, orders online too.
Those count.
We're happy to be your surrogate FLGS out there.
Absolutely. This actually leads into something that I haven't brought up with you, but I think you might have some interesting thoughts on. There was a discussion in a game store retailer forum that I was in about letting employees, either letting them or mandating them or whatever, but basically on the clock learning games, whether that is appropriate or not. Now, the specific context that the question was asked had to do with Magic the Gathering and learning and spoilers and learning about all the meta and that sort of thing. It's not something we do, but the basic idea holds, which is, how knowledgeable do you expect your staff at a game store to be about the products we're selling? And essentially, are you paying them to learn that knowledge?
Right.
And it's interesting because, there are a lot of different things back and forth in the conversation around it. Obviously, when you're in retail, there's a lot of things that need to be done. You got boxes, you got shelves that need to be stocked. You got bathrooms that need to be cleaned. Not for us, but for a lot of stores that focus on TCGs, there's like singles organizing and stuff. There's a lot of tasks that need to be due. So how, if at all, do you prioritize what we were just talking about? Hey, I'm coming back here and learning a game.
Yeah.
Is that a waste of time? Is it a waste of money, right? To be paying your employees to do stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or is it value, and how do you evaluate its value?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have thoughts on that. It's obviously going to depend so much on your store model. But I think within this space, just about any model I can conceive of, it's going to be worth it to have that sort of, time and energy put into on-the-job education. So we have spoken about a number of times when we're going to interview people for an open position or something, that knowledge can be gained. We don't necessarily want someone who's walking in the door with all of the knowledge about every kind of game in their heads if they suck in every other department.
Yeah.
If they're not going to be good working with customers, if they're not going to be good with sort of getting into the groove and rhythm of how things work here at this particular store. Any number of other things are a higher priority because you can always learn more about games. Having enthusiasm about games coming in is way more important than having a massive knowledge base, because the enthusiasm is what's going to get you the knowledge base, right? And so right at the outset, these other factors are the things I would much rather invest in initially. Because once we have them in here, they're going to learn about games whether they want to or not. They're going to learn about games through osmosis.
Yeah.
Kristen, one of our somewhat more recent hires, she came in feeling really underconfident in her knowledge base about games, just because we tend to be so good about talking about games, but quickly proved she knew way more about games than even she knew she did.
Yeah.
And we all learn from each other. Kristen plays a way different sort of game than I do anymore. She tends to like a lot more, heavy strategy games, which is something I used to be into way more a lot of years ago. But I'm kind of out of the loop on a lot of that. So I get to listen to her talk about her experiences with those things. So I'm absorbing knowledge that way. She listens to me talk about RPGs and whatever else. And that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
As far as taking time to sit and learn games in the store, again, depends on your model. Our model is one that's all about interacting with people. It's all about trying to, kind of evangelize our own enthusiasm about the different ends of the hobby. And I would say me or Kristen or Dan or whomever sitting back here, opening a box, reading a rule book, messing with the pieces, seeing how the setup goes, is not much different than a collectible card game store person going through and organizing singles. Because to organize the singles, to price them appropriately, organize them where they need to go in the binders, this, that, and the other thing, they're going to have to look stuff up. They're going to have to ask questions. They're going to, all sorts of bits and pieces of information they're going to need to be able to do that effectively. It's not that much different. You're using your time familiarizing yourself with the product either way.
Yeah. I mean, just, like you telling me, like I walked in the other day and you said, Christian and I played Neon Rain. It was a game, we had we sold out, but there's a demo copy back here. Didn't actually even have any copies on the shelf. And it was one I was interested in, but never got around to playing it.
Yep. Well, you and I both, having come of age in the 90s, had the arcade experience, and especially the rise of arcade fighting games, which is what the game is based on. So I think that probably grabbed you and I by the imagination.
Absolutely.
So.
But it had never gotten to the table. We sold out, but then I get to come in and hear you talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? Your enthusiasm got me excited about the game again, and also got the game put back in the cart.
Yep.
We ordered more, right? Because if we're excited about something, we want to be able to sell it. So we need to get it in stock. And now it's on the demo bar. At least 2 people on staff know it and may pull it out with someone to suggest it. And that's part of that excitement and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's easy. It's relatively easy to sell someone a product, to have a product on the shelf. They give you money for it, they leave, they go home and have a good time. But the thing that we want is not just for them to go home and have a good time. That is the primary.
Yeah.
But we ultimately want them to come back. So they need to remember the good experience they had here.
Right.
Whether that's talking with enthusiastic staff, talking with knowledgeable staff who made a recommendation that ended up being good, playing a game at the demo bar, right? All of these things create an impression that make customers want to come back and find more games and become regulars and become gamers.
My ideal of a game store has always been, it's a place you come and spend your money, but it's also a place you come and spend your time and energy. It's a place to hang out and socialize. Yeah. And obviously not everyone wants to use a game store in precisely that way, but a lot of customers do. For a lot of people who walk in the door, this is a great place to come and have a conversation with other people who are also into the same kinds of oddly specific things that they are. It's similar to a comic book store or something like that, in that way. And, having something like this where we are actively playing games, actively learning games, actively presenting games to people is part of that arm, like you said, of making gamers and taking people who already think of themselves as gamers and giving them a place to, in which to express that side of their personalities. Because being a gamer isn't necessarily about the kinds of games you're into. You can be a gamer and just love casual party games or family card games. It's about the level of enthusiasm you have for them. It's about how much you get into them.
Yeah. Speaking of enthusiasm, there's another game that I came in yesterday and got a barrage of information about because Chandra had just played it. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about Brindlewood Bay?
Yeah, sure. So if you've been around a while, I am heavy into RPGs. And so, I've got my main campaigns that I'm always running, classic fantasy stuff. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition is sort of my #1 campaign right now. I've got an Outcast Silver Raiders campaign going. Next session is actually this Saturday. Really looking forward to that. But as much as I love the old school fantasy and dark fantasy and all that, I really like to let my hair down, take a nice, refreshing drink of water with something very different. And I just had the opportunity to run Brindlewood Bay for a few people in my Warhammer Fantasy group. We couldn't get everyone together. What's low prep? What's interesting that I can throw on the table and still have a game because we were all pretty hungry for it. Brindlewood Bay it's a Powered by the Apocalypse game. So people who know the indie RPG space over the past decade plus probably know this system. It's a very simple 2d6 based narrative forward character relationship heavy kind of system. You can do pretty much any genre with it, but it's always going to be character and story first kind of games, right? Brindlewood Bay uses it in one of the most interesting ways I've seen, one of the best ways I've seen the system get tied to the setting, because it's a really personalizable system as well. It's not just combat mechanics and skill rolls like a lot of RPGs. You can really tailor it to whatever your setting and mood is. And Brindlewood Bay is a mystery. It is a cozy mystery. It is Murder, She Wrote, straight up. They obviously took inspiration from other places, all sorts of other places. Nero Wolfe, Cadfael, Miss Marple, and on, but the lens is tightly focused on cozy mysteries. Takes place in Brindlewood Bay, which is, as you might guess, a cozy little New England coastal town. And the player characters are all, older women. They are all Jessica Fletcher types. They all have their own personality, though. A big part of character creation is what's your character's sense of style? What's your character's cozy hobby that she uses to let off steam, relax, let her mind wander? And guess what? You get to use that cozy hobby in-game to get your light bulb flash insights where you get a new clue out of it. And it helps you to remove conditions you might have gathered during the game, things that are negatively impacting you, being stressed, being frightened, whatever. That's how you clear conditions, is through your cozy activity. The game is extremely conversational. You're walking around this town talking to suspects. Each mystery has a list of suspects with details about them, and it has a list of clues that you're picking up as you meddle, is one of the moves you can do during the game. But here's one of my favorite things. Okay, so designing puzzles in RPGs, really hard. One of the hardest things GMs have to do. When you're doing it in a classic dungeon crawler, most people expect a riddle or a puzzle. It's got to have beginning, middle, and end. It's got to have a one true unique answer that every piece of information is pointing you to, or is a red herring for, one way or another. But there's one right answer. Well, a trick I picked up years ago for doing puzzles in RPGs, if I cannot think of a really solid, airtight puzzle, I'll just put something in that looks a lot like a puzzle. And I don't have a solution for it, but I'll let my players mess around with it for a while, and they will come up with something that sounds like a totally plausible, really creative solution. And I'm like, oh, bam, yeah, you guys got it. Great job. Well, Brindlewood Bay does that with mysteries. And I love this because I've looked into so many other mystery RPGs that are so like tightly structured, like a lot of the Fear Itself and the Esoterrorist, those kinds of games. And those are cool games and everything, don't get me wrong, but sometimes a system feels like it is a solution searching for a problem. And I think this game actually noticed the real problem in the room and sought out a solution for it. That solution is none of the mysteries have canon answers. None of them. Instead, it is an actual skill roll you make when the players talk it out and decide they have a solution that ties a bunch of their clues together and points to a suspect. They get to make a roll on it. Their role is the difficulty rating of the mystery minus how many clues they were able to tie together. Simple as that. And that's the modifier on their roll. Really brilliant system. Keeps things breezy, quickly moving. Nothing ever feels bogged down. I cannot recommend Brindlewood Bay enough if you're looking for something really different, something refreshing at your table.
Well, it lets the GM be surprised.
Well, that's
right?
that's one of the things I love about old school style gaming too, is the GM ought to be surprised. You're playing to find out what happens.
Yeah.
And that's why I like random tables in my old school fantasy games. And random encounter rolls and things like that. Stuff to happen in between the planned bits and pieces that gets everyone on their toes, that gives everyone a chance to ad lib. Brindlewood Bay, a lot of other Powered by the Apocalypse games as well, but I think Brindlewood Bay is uniquely good at giving everyone chances to shine.
That sounds so cool. And there's another one, like I'd heard a little bit about Brindlewood Bay, and then across my radar came this game, Cryptid Creek, which uses the Brindlewood Bay mystery engine. So that's more of a Murder, She Wrote, contemporary, though it looks like it's got some... I mean, the cover looks Lovecraftian. The mysteries are potentially supernatural.
Yes, that is the other thing about it. You are solving these like cozy murder mysteries in this town, but there's an undercurrent. The assumption is you're playing a campaign of this. You can do one-shots, but it's very much based in the campaign play. And there is this undercurrent of a dark occult conspiracy happening there. Everything's got to have a dark occult edge for me. I don't know what it is, but it's just fun. I even like my old 70s horror movies that way. It's got that going on as an undercurrent. And so as the campaign goes, more and more genuinely disturbing and horrific things start breaking into this otherwise cozy life that these people are living. But Cryptid Creeks takes it in. It also has a dark conspiracy undercurrent,
but it's more of the instead of the old ladies, this is actually more like the Goonies, the younger. What's the show? My kids are into it.
Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls, very much that kind of weird thing going on, but it's the kids, a group of kids solving the mysteries. But very similar. And what that does is it makes me excited, like hearing how great the system is. Seeing we've already got at least one other game using that system, I can expect we'll see more of that. And also,
there is another one as well that they advertise in the back of the book, and I need to check out. It's called The Between. It is a Victorian London kind of thing where you are expressly up against supernatural monsters of various sorts. So I haven't read it yet, but I imagine it's going to be stuff that fits the era. It's going to be, vampires, spring-heeled Jack, maybe, things like that. So I'm excited to read it. Don't know if I'll ever run it, but at this point, I kind of want everything that uses this format and system in my own library, just for the fun of reading it, let alone the fun of having running Brindlewood Bay.
That's cool. And I mean, we've already sold a bunch of it, but I just it's like I walk in, I hear Chandra talk about something like that. It's like, well, I need that one too. To go with my Cryptid Creeks, That's what the excitement and enthusiasm does.
For sure, yeah.
Great.
And so this is what has had me super excited lately. As you said, literally walked in the door yesterday and I assaulted you with telling you how much fun we had playing it the other night. But there's a game that, all of us really have been playing a ton of here in the store, but you kicked off our enthusiasm for this game, and you've been playing it the most. So
This is a game that I've sort of called definitely a game of the year contender. We're going to see this at the, come December when I'm doing my top 5 narrowing down game of the year. I can't imagine the world in which this is not on it. In that world, so many other games have come out. But that is this fairly small Paolo Mori game called Toy Battle. Paolo Mori and Alessandro Zucchini. I heard about it and brought it in because Paolo Mori, he's done great quick playing war game adjacent like games like Blitzkrieg, but he's also done Ethnos, one of my all-time favorite games.
Love Ethnos.
So he's one of those designers that, I'm going to try anything he puts out. So I had ordered a few copies of this, kind of sight unseen, but I was at a convention that had a pre-release copy of it, and I played it and said, wow, this is amazing. It's a 2-player, ostensibly a war game, but they try to, it's a toy battle. So it's like your little action figures and your dinosaurs and your rainbow unicorns that you would play in the backyard fighting with. You're trying to capture the opposing base or capture enough points on the board. But games literally take 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes tops. I've sat here and played best 2 out of 3 games with a customer in under half an hour. Super intuitive, but so replayable. So I was like, I'd only played a couple games of it at this convention, and I came back. Just so happens when I came back, our order would come in of the 6 copies. So I said, whoever was on staff that day, I think it might have been Mike and you or Mike and Dan, who knows, but I said, we're going to open one of those 6 copies up because you've got to see this game. Yeah. Showed them the game. They are like, this is great. Because that's one of the things that we do, right? It's like, we need to try a game, see if we like it. Like, I liked it, but does the staff like it? But then we also want to give a chance to play it with customers. Do customers like it before we really go in and say, this is a popular game? Yeah. Well, that day, the next, let's see, we had 6 copies. Yep. I opened one up, showed the staff. The next 4 customers that came in, I showed it to them and they bought it. Yeah. So within like an hour, we were down to 1 copy left. So I said, we need to go hard on this game.
For sure.
And yeah, I have played it a bunch because I love games. I love quick games that you can just iterate on over and over again and try different strategies. When you don't feel constrained, when you're playing a 90-minute plus game, you don't usually want to take too many risks, particularly not early in the game. Yeah. Right? You don't want to feel like, okay, well, we just started. I'm going to try this risky thing on turn 1. Oh, that failed. I am definitely in last place, but I got to play for another hour and a half, 2 hours plus.
That's a great point. That was similar to when Kristen and I pulled out Neon Rain, too, where this game moves so quickly. We're just going to try stuff. Kristen literally randomly drew which character she was going to play in it because we knew so little about the strategy. Yeah. Well, we'll just see how these special powers work out. And very similar with Toy Battle. Do I want to play super aggressively? Do I want to be a little more do I want to go for points? Like what, you can try so many different things every time you play.
Yeah, and it's basically, a lot of people might consider it a filler. You can break it out just to play one quick thing, but having played close to 30 games of it now, I can tell you it rewards understanding, how some of the pieces work, understanding with the pieces you have, strategies that might go from those pieces versus if you had drawn other pieces.
How you can sort of cascade plays with different combinations of pieces. Yeah.
And the other thing is there are 8 maps in here. Yeah. And every map, not only being structured differently, has a different sort of rule unique to that map that might be minor, but radically changes things.
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, I'll give you an example. So there's a map where you can, there are ways you might be able to destroy your opponent's piece. There's a piece that can destroy a piece next to it or lets you grab a piece off of their rack and destroy it. Well, there's a map where you can go on a spot and bring one of your destroyed pieces back to your rack to use it again. And when you first look at it, you're like, oh, that's cool. I might have access to more pieces. But now you start to think, I don't actually want to destroy certain pieces because the pieces that really give the opponent an advantage every time they play it, you don't want to let them play that a second time. Right. Yeah. So suddenly I'm like, normally I would just kill that piece. I'd rather go kill this piece that maybe isn't going to be that useful for you. Yeah. So that's just one way. A map that I hadn't played until recently actually lets you, you go on a spot, you get to kick an opponent's piece back to right next to their base.
Oh, okay.
Again, see, doesn't seem like it would change that much. Okay, you get to move pieces, but now suddenly, I don't want to put my weak pieces next to that spot because if they kick a piece back to my base, I want it to be a strong piece, protecting my base, right? So there's just all sorts of little things that it's fantastic. I can't speak more highly of it. So that's what's had me excited. And when I'm behind the demo bar, I'm like, hey, have you played Toy Battle?
Right, yeah.
Might be a little crazy about it.
The great thing about it, though, is it is so quick, but it packs so many actually heavy, brain-burny decisions into that 10, 15-minute experience. That's one of the things that impresses me so much about it. It's also one of the things that I like so well about Boop. A lot of people look at games like this and think, oh, this is nothing.
Yeah.
This is just breezy and nothing. But when you have played it a couple of times, especially when you're playing it against someone who you're even close to evenly matched with, suddenly it turns into a game where every decision feels consequential. And these short games with simple rule sets can actually do that better than a lot of big, long games where sometimes it feels like you're just making a decision to make a decision.
Yeah.
Whereas in Toy Battle, you, like, especially once the first couple plays have been made and you're starting to interact with each other in the middle of the board, every single choice you make matters.
Yeah.
Every choice you make can turn the tide.
Yeah. I've seen many games where I'm like, oh, I've got this. I'm right
Yep.
on top. And it turns so quickly.
Yeah. And I have watched some of those people who say, oh, this is a breezy nothing game, get their butts handed to them because they didn't realize how consequential a particular piece could be in a particular situation.
Yeah.
It really makes a difference whenever you stop and think and make a smart use of what you have in your hand.
Yeah. Tons of fun. So that's what had me excited. We should probably wrap up because we're at the little over the half-hour mark.
Yeah.
What's happening at Games Unlimited? Anything interesting coming up soon?
Well, Free RPG Day is coming up.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So
wait, isn't that the same time as Origins?
yeah, don't get me started. A few of us are actually going to Origins this year. There's going to be some overlap between that and Free RPG Day. I will be back for Free RPG Day. Dan and I both will be back for that. But we're also going to be at Origins, so if you're at Origins, come say hi.
Actually, hear it here first. We haven't announced this yet, but we have had badge ribbons made.
That's right.
We have badge ribbons. If you're not familiar, if you've not been to conventions, you usually get a lanyard with a little badge with your name on it that shows that you're admitted. It's the equivalent of a stamp when you go to a club.
Yep.
You've got the badge, so everyone wears badges. But this thing started, I don't know how many years ago, where people make these little ribbons. They have a piece of tape on it, so you can stick it to your badge. So one of the things you'll see a lot of is the gamer, like GAYMER,
Yep.
or ally ribbon.
Yep.
You'll see pronoun ribbons.
Pronoun ribbons.
Publishers will just have ribbons with their
Yep.
game on it, right?
It's almost like the convention, comic book, gaming, pop culture convention equivalent of like a challenge coin, right?
Yeah.
It's saying like, I've been here, I met this person,
Yep.
I stopped in at this booth, I played this game, whatever.
Yeah, you'll see people with like badge ribbons, more than a foot long, just hanging down. So we had some Games Unlimited Unbox Some Fun ribbons made in black and gold, Pittsburgh colors.
Yep.
And so
we will have them on hand with us.
Yeah,
at the
if you
con.
see any of us, and you'll know us because we'll be wearing the Games Unlimited shirt, come up to us, say hi. We'll give you one of those badge ribbons.
Yep.
I'd love to see people just in the wild with the Games Unlimited.
Yep. I always love to see people's collection of badge ribbons. I almost like to see that even more than the games they brought home. Just because it says so much about the experience they had at the convention.
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah.
That's coming up. Origins and Free RPG Day. So, well, till then, I guess we've probably got some work to do.
Yeah.
No, Free RPG Day's done. We're ready, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. Well, we will talk to you again soon. I'm Kylie at Games Unlimited.
I'm Chandra, also at Games Unlimited.
All right. Roll some dice, flip some cards,
and have fun.
Have fun.